my daughter's still there on this earth.
Yeah.
But my question is, in Thessalonians, it talks about the capturing away of the saints, the lifting up with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
What part of the tribulation do you place that?
Well, I don't place it in the tribulation, because the tribulation is over with. The tribulation ended in 1789, when the church was no longer tribulated, when over 50 million people were martyred for the name of Jesus during what we call the Dark Ages. And that was the tribulation. The church was going to tribulate, not the world. The world wasn't going to go through tribulation. He said the church would go through this. His body was, those who followed after him, those who named his name would be tribulated. And between the Spanish Inquisition and all the other things that went on at that time, again, if you take a look at Fox's Book of Martyrs, you'll find that was the time frame when over 50 million people were, after Edward the Third, I believe, Edward II died, and Bloody Mary again came to the throne. Over 5 million people in England were put to the torch and were cut and drawn and done all those kinds of things too. And the Abedenses and the Waldenses and a bunch of those people, the Lombards and people over in Europe, went through a horrible time of tribulation. And so the tribulation is over with. It's finished. It's done. Don't look for the tribulation, because it ain't going to happen, ma'am. It's done. It's over.
Well, what about the Revelation?
What about what Revelation?
John's Revelation.
What about it? It's 21 chapters long. What part are you talking about?
When will that start?
Oh, probably 80-85% of it's already over with. If you go back and read the first 2 chapters of John, is that I saw these things, and the angel told me these are things which must shortly come to pass. Those things were beginning and began to take place, and the vast majority of Revelation is already over with.
Oh, I see. I'm just a young student.
No, that's fine. But again, go back and read the very first part of it, and you get your time frame in there. And you cannot take anything that's in the book of Revelation as literal. There are no literal frogs going to come out of the sea. There is no Jesus standing on the mountain with a sword coming out of his mouth, and his eyes as flames of fire. These are all descriptive, prophetic terms, and nothing, I repeat, nothing in the book of Revelation can be taken as a literal term. You have to go back and find out and figure out what John is saying in prophetic terms. There's a political story in there that he talks about the politics, about the various kingdoms and who is going to rule and what will happen to these kingdoms. And this correlates much with the book of Daniel, where Daniel saw the image with the head of gold and the chest of silver and the legs of the loins in brass, and then the feet mixed clay or whatever else. And John also parallels this. And then there is a religious aspect of it in there, speaking of Mystery Babylon and the woman who rode the beast and so on and so forth. And then there are economic things that go on in the book of Revelation. And these, you have to be aware of where these jump from one to the other, or you get totally fouled up and screwed up, and that's the reason why a lot of people can't deal with the book of Revelation, because they're not able to sort these things out. And if it wasn't a book to be understood, then why was it put there? And why was the blessing given to those that said that those of you would have ears to hear and eyes to see, and those of you would have understanding on this, and if it wasn't there to be understood. But again, the vast majority of it has already been fulfilled, and it's a relatively simple book to understand.
And do you think that they're building the 10 toes now?
You mean about the 10-toed kingdom?
Yeah.
Well, again, that when the Roman Empire broke up, it was split off, and Europe was split up. It was split up into 10 different kingdoms under 10 different groups. You had you had the Lombards, and you had the Gauls, and you had a whole bunch of these people out there. I can't list them all off right now. And they split off into the various kingdoms that we have today. We have the Germanys and Austria and France and all these others. That's where your 10 toes went at that time. And as far as the legs are concerned, you had in that time frame under Rome one leg was political Rome, the other leg was religious Rome. And when the political Rome collapsed and fell apart, and was pulled apart by the various barbarians that came down there and chipped away at it, then religious Rome took power and took Rome as its seat and ruled for 1,260 years.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your information.
Okay, I hope I haven't boggled your mind.
A little bit, but
study it out.
Okay.
Study it out. Ask for, go back to the book of James. In the book of James, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. So if you need wisdom in these things, ask the Lord to open your mind to this. Okay?
Okay.
Now, he won't do it instantaneously, but he will do it upon study.
Okay.
All right. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment. I'm John Dayl on 910 KFYI. Lisa, you should be my first call. 910 KFYI.